Vincent van Gogh. Who is he? Was he just that madman with a brush, or is there more to him than meets the eye? Today, I'll be discussing a brief history of Van Gogh, his impact on art and design today, as well as a bit of constructive criticism on one of his art pieces. But before we dig into the mind of Van Gogh, let us talk about the art movement that he belongs to. Vincent van Gogh was a famous artist of the Post-Impressionism movement. Post-Impressionism was a French art movement birthing from the ending of Impressionism, lasting until the inception of Fauvism. Post-Impressionism has a broad spectrum of styles, as the design of the artwork is down to the artist's subjective vision. The colour palette consists of vibrant, saturated colours compared to the more natural colour of pieces from the Impressionism era. Some notable artists from this time are Paul Cézanne, Georges Seurat, Charles Laval, and of course, Vincent van Gogh. Vincent Willem van Gogh was born in the small Netherlandic village of Zundert on March 30th, 1853. As a child, Vincent liked to roam the countryside to look at nature. At the age of 16, his uncle helped him to get an apprenticeship at the art dealer Goupil & Co. He worked for the Hague, London, and Paris branches up until 1876. Being around art for many years sparked his appreciation for art, favouring artists such as Rembrandt, Frans Hals, and Camille Corot, just to name a few. Throughout his life, Vincent sent a multitude of letters and sketches to his brother Theo, who was a lifelong friend. Theo was an art dealer, like Vincent in his earlier years. He helped Vincent financially as well as being a shoulder for him to cry on. These letters and sketches allowed insight into Vincent's mind. In September of 1888, Vincent moved into the Yellow House where he planned to start an art colony. Unfortunately, it did not turn out too well, but he befriended fellow artist Paul Gauguin, who went on to share the tiny studio space within the Yellow House with Vincent. Paul was known to be arrogant, which annoyed Vincent, leading to frequent arguing. Vincent wasn't sound of mind, often thought of as a madman by the locals. It is said that Vincent was hearing voices, and this is why he severed his left ear. He then treated his wound, wrapped his ear with paper, and handed it to a brothel worker. In May of 1889, Vincent was admitted to St. Paul de Musol Asylum. Here he would spend a whole year. He produced many paintings during his time at the asylum, one such painting being the well-known The Starry Night. Vincent left the asylum in May of 1890 to be closer to both his doctor, Paul Gachet, and his brother Theo. This landed him in Auvers-sur-Oise. Unfortunately, his time here wouldn't last. 2 months after he moved, on the 27th of July, Vincent shot himself in the chest. He succumbed to his injuries just a few days later, on the 29th of July, 1890. The artwork I have chosen to give constructive criticism to is The Starry Night. I like how Vincent uses line to portray texture as well as the shape in the stars and in the crescent moon. There really is not much to criticize in this painting. The only thing I would really point out is that I'm not quite sure what the dark object is. I would assume it's a tree, but I could also interpret it as a structure of some sort. If Vincent were here today, I would ask very nicely if he could possibly make the colour of this a bit brighter. Although Vincent van Gogh is one of the greatest artists of all time, his work is very reflective of the period he lived in and would not hold up to today's design standards. That being said, inspiration can be taken from his use of colour, line and shape. Vincent was a clever fellow, and I'm sure that if he managed to catch a lift in a time machine and land in our time period, he would adapt and use his unique style in more modern art and design. Vincent will influence my work by helping me to have the attitude to just do it. He painted around 900 paintings throughout his lifetime. He would just find a subject and paint it. I will apply that to my thinking. If there is something to get done that I want to do, I will do it. No more procrastination and no more putting things off. So yeah, that's Vincent for you. Thank you for watching my presentation on Vincent van Gogh.